Let me tell you a story. It's a true story. All my stories are true. And this is something a little bit different than you used to hear from me. I know this family personally. Child at 14 years old started to unravel. Can't get up in the morning for Shacharis. Top boy, top Masifta. Can't get up in the morning. Difficulty concentrating. Started acting out. Now we all know what the normal path is for that kid. The parents start getting upset at the child. How come you're not getting up in the morning? Then he gets a cell phone or something, and they say, blame it. The reason you can't get up is because you're up watching movies. And then the Yiddishkeit goes down the tubes, and everything crashes, God forbid, a lot of the time. This family, listen to what they did. For whatever reason I'm not going to get into, they never turned on the kid. They saw right away from the first minute, something's not right with this kid. This kid has a pain. And they spoke to the yeshiva, and this is a chiddush, this yeshiva, all yeshivas should learn from this yeshiva. They saw right away, he's a great kid, we're not going to do the normal pressure, knas, we're going to let it go. This kid ended up getting more and more dysfunctional. Started getting up at 11, at 12, at 1, daven at home, put on tefillin, maybe yes, maybe no. Nobody turned on him. Not his mother, not his father, not his siblings, not the yeshiva, nothing. Come to yeshiva, he came whenever he wanted, came once at 12, came once at 2. Nobody talked down to him, nobody put him down. Listen to this very carefully. He was hurting like he had a fever, and nobody made him eat it. Nobody made him feel bad. Everybody understood miraculously. Nobody judged him. Okay? He was out of yeshiva in this situation where he was in, but officially out, and juggling and coming and not coming, and when he could, and taking a test and working it out, and at night with a tutor, and staying at home, and learning a little bit at home when he could, and playing some video games, and watching some movies and stuff. He did that for 2 years solid. Still in yeshiva. Still in yeshiva. And never went off the derech. Never went on the street. Never changed his clothing. He told me that a friend told him, Chaim, you're so yeshivish, and you don't even go to yeshiva. It was the age, 15, 16, where guys get more into yeshiva. His father wanted to take him out to 7-Eleven. Come, let's go get a thing. And he said, wait, let me get my jacket. And he lives in a community that they don't even wear a jacket. He was wearing a white shirt, and he went to put on a jacket. After 2 years of not being in yeshiva, maybe or maybe not putting on tefillin, maybe or maybe not davening mincha, maybe or maybe not davening marav, and everybody just assumed he's doing his best, just like we would if someone has fever. Fast forward, 3 years later, 4 years later, 5 years later, he got help. He didn't have to deal with drugs. He didn't have to deal with feeling homeless. He didn't have any negative feelings against anybody. It's like a dream, right? It's like, can you imagine a dream? That everybody judged him favorably from the first minute. Everybody understood that a healthy kid gets up in the morning, and a healthy kid is going to zushtel and conform, is going to be, right? And they saw something's wrong at everybody in his life, from the Rosh Hashiva to the Manal to the Rebbe, for several years, all saw there's something here, and no tightness. They would visit him at home. There was a time that the Manal picked him up on the way Bein Azdarim to take him to yeshiva for second Seder, and came out of his way. No pressure and no feeling bad. And nobody felt bad, and nobody made him feel bad, and no pressure. This yeshiva should charge $8 million tuition. They understood the child, and they understood his situation, and they dealt with it unbelievable, boosting and boosting and boosting and boosting and boosting. Okay? Fast forward, 10 years. Boy is an Erlich boy, married, a Ben Torah. Never, this whole thing never happened. And everybody who knows the story knows, no question. If the mother would have said, what's the matter with you? And the father would have given grief, and you give grief to a suffering soul that has an issue, no question, we would have had another kid, another statistic. No question. No shaila. Would have been a kid, all of a sudden you see him with the jeans, and all of a sudden you see with the things, and then you see with the hat, and then all of a sudden he's smoking weed, because everybody hates me, and everybody's against me, and nobody understands me. One of the most painful things in the world is that these kids are so good, and a lot of times they themselves watch themselves fall apart And they sometimes don't even know why, and sometimes they do know why. We had over here a sibling, Skip, of a kip. And I met the kid when he was 10. And he liked me at the family meeting. And they came back, they were out of town, so they would come in like once a year to meet me with the kids. I saw him at 11, I saw him at 12. And then all of a sudden, turns out that they found out he was traumatized. And he was also hurt. And here you have this kid that at 10 years old, 11, 12, everything is great. And all of a sudden now, he's watching himself fall apart. He was sitting in that chair that you're in right there. And he starts telling me, and he has already a twitch. He starts having a twitch. And he starts telling me, he's in 7th grade. He said, so many days, I'm not in yeshiva. I can't get my act together. I used to love davening. I can't concentrate. He's watching a Holocaust. He's watching his arm, like stop, like Nebuch, like an ALS patient. Like all of a sudden, I lost mobility in my arm. I lost this, I lost that. He goes, I can't daven. I used to love davening. I can't daven. I tried concentrating as a genius. I can't concentrate. Like I look at the Gemara and he tells me the words are like jumping. I can't. And Nebuch, he never chose this. And he tells me the saddest, most painful thing I'll ever hear probably in my life, one of them, if I don't get my act together, who's going to take me from Mesivta? He's watching his dreams. He could be in the top Mesivta. He's a genius, great family, Erlich. There's no chesaron here in Yiddishkeit. And he sees his future dissolving right in front of him. Usually the parents are saying, if you don't get your act together, what kind of Mesivta are you going to go to? That's what they need. They know it. He's watching his thing, saying about himself, if I can't get my act together, what's going to be? But I can't sleep at night. I go into bed on time. 3 hours later, I'm still up. 4 hours later, I'm still up. I wake up in the middle of the night. I have nightmares. I have night terrors. I sweat. I get up and I can't fall asleep. I can't get up. I wake up. I'm not rested. Our kips do not sleep. And we learned this the hard way. We had parents here the first time that I heard this, because we learned everything here, that a kid happened to be on vacation with his parents and with his father, and his father shared a room with him. That's how close the relationship was after this kid being so dysfunctional. He's Baruch Hashem married today, Shem Torah Mitzvahs. But at that point, he was so dysfunctional, and he went on a vacation with his father. And they shared a room, and the father said, okay, so it works out good. I have to work. So he got up in the morning, he went to daven, came back, had some breakfast, and he's in the room from like 8 a.m. until the kip wakes up at 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. and then they could start their day. So that's why the kips wake up late. They give you a chance to go to work and clean your house and cook and do all the other stuff. And he says, I'm in the room, so I'm quiet, but I'm working remotely on his computer. And this kid, he's, oi, oi. He sounds like a 90-year-old man in his sleep. Oi. And he's turning. No, get away with it. Turning and back. He said he didn't have any menucha. And I've heard this afterwards from many parents who ended up in the same room, or if you put a recorder, or if you put in something, they have no menucha. They're tortured souls. Tortured souls. And this kid is telling about himself, I wake up, I don't know why, but I'm not rested. So I can't concentrate. If I don't concentrate, and I can't daven. I used to like davening. I used to love davening. I can't daven. He's watching his life fall apart. Does that kid afterwards need a Rebbe or a parent or somebody saying, no, what are you going to make a mensch out of yourself? They don't need it. What would happen? And it's a dream. It's like a chalom because it's so almost impossible. This kid was lucky. This kid was lucky that he wasn't judged for 1 minute by anybody. And he would wake up when he woke up, and he got breakfast, and he never had to be forced and pushed out. He never had to get weed for his pain. He was able to go to therapy and be matzliach in therapy and to work on himself and to stay frum and to become more spiritual, learning deeper svarim, because that's what he needed, and kept himself stark and went through the darkness of the machla without the rejection of the world. It's a true story. That's my dream for every kid. Why don't we do this right away? Because we always assume it's the Yetzer Hara. He's a liar. He has bad midos. He's going to take advantage of you. And look how many kids we're losing, we're pushing out of our lives, instead of just realizing, chayla. And it's all because of one reason. There's no thermometer that tells you emotional fever. Somebody please invent a thermometer. I don't know where you're going to stick it. You stick it somewhere, and it shows you 104. And then everyone knows what to do, because when a kid has fever, we do this automatically. We don't think, well, it's 4 days, he didn't go to school. He's going to take advantage. He's going to keep on. Don't give him ice cream on the couch. Don't let him wake up late and give him breakfast before he puts on tefillin. What about Zman Kriya Shema? What about Mincha? There's no what about. The kid is sick. You could be sick for 3 months, 4 months, and the doctor says, I don't know why. It's a low-grade fever, 101, 102. Maybe it's mono, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. Nobody questions the kid. Nobody says maybe he's a manipulator. Nobody says maybe he has bad midos. Nobody questions the kid. And then you have other kids who are nabach molested, raped, learning disabilities, trauma, abuse. They're dying inside. And because there's no thermometer, everybody second guesses them every second of the way. So what happens? They have a breakdown. And then what do you do when you have a breakdown? You look for people who accept you. You go out on the street and everybody says, good to see you. We've been waiting for you. Another great future Rosh Hashiva, amazing person in Klal Yisrael, who we now have in our ranks of the underworld. And the more dysfunctional you are on the outside, the more they like you. The higher the skirt is inside the house, no, terrible, terrible. The outside, they say, we like you even better. You know how to break into a car? Fantastic. We were looking for a guy like you. What we need to learn is that our kids are not bad. They could be a lot of things, ADD, ADHD, JFK, MP3, MPD, BPD, but they're not BAD. If we get that through our system, if we can understand our kids are not bad, right? If we really trusted the kid, then when they don't function, we would automatically realize there's a reason. This is my hope, my dream for the next star. We won't have to have so many kids suffering because they don't know. Some of them don't remember. Some of them can't connect the dots. Some of them have no idea that the reason why I'm not functioning now is because of what happened to me 5 years ago. And some of them do know, but they don't feel like they could share. They have shame. They have deep shame. And then on top of all of their mega problems, mega suffering that they now have a bunch of eyes of the adult world looking down at you. You're bad. You're a bad influence. How come you're doing this? You could do better. You have Bechira. All of a sudden, the Musa Shmuzin. Hashem doesn't give you something that you can't overcome. You obviously have Koiches. You have to become better. We're going to motivate you. You need this. We'll make a prize. And the whole thing is a misunderstanding because you wouldn't say that to someone who is sick. Remember, they're not healthy Esavs. They're sick Yaakovs. If we can have the vision, the eyes, from day one of the machla that starts to spread to the point of dysfunction, from the first minute, and we were able to know whether it's sick or bad behavior, we would save all these kids. The shaila is, what do you do when you don't know? They asked the shaila to Rav Steinman. And Rav Steinman paskined lahalacha that if you have a suffix if someone is healthy or sick, if you have a suffix if someone is a healthy person that needs chinuch, boundaries, consequences, pushing, knas, because that's what healthy kids need sometimes, or maybe the kid is sick and suffering and hurting, then you have to treat him like a hurting person. Because otherwise you can break the person. And those experts with the eyes that can see can tell you the difference. And the truth is, all parents really know. We just don't want to let go of the dream. But you really know your kids. You could tell when they need a push, and you could tell when I'm pushing, but there's something, you know? It's like driving the car with the emergency brake on. You know where it is. And what do we do then? We're programmed, push harder. Push harder. You drive with the emergency brake on too long, something bad is going to happen. You have a car with a flat tire. How much does it cost to fix? $15? $30? A new tire? $100? Nothing. But if you push it, you break the rim. How much does that cost to fix? No, more. A few thousand for a rim. You keep on pushing it. After the rim is broken, what breaks next? The axle. Now you're looking at $4,000. So what do you do when you have a flat tire? Pump it up. Fix it. Don't push. Don't push. Now in the beginning you don't know, but at some point you know. At some point parents out there have to learn a new sugya of tinak shenishbar, broken children that we have in our dar who are having emotional breakdowns, and they need to see it, and mechanchim need to see it, and I give so much credit. You know how many mechanchim have come here to train? I got a call today from a menaheles from Bells in Montreal. And she's keeping up with the kid who was thrown out of school 3-4 years ago, and with the family, and with the other siblings. And mamish, I'm like, I don't get this. This is unbelievable. Mechanchim are amazing, and they are training, and they're looking at trauma. I had a Chassidish guy that came here to train for the 2-day training. I said, what are you doing? He's a young Chassidish. He says, I'm a manal and a Chassidish Maisid of grades 1, 2, and 3. I said, why are you coming to my training? What are we talking about? Dysfunction, drugs, off the derech, right? He tells me, these days, we need to know everything. It's unbelievable. And Shimon Russell says that usually you can tell by 4th grade. If you know how to look at the eyes, if you know how to look at the nefesh hayeled, you can tell by 4th grade who's going to go off the derech when they're 15 years old. You can tell when a kid is 9 or 10. I could see it. And so many parents here get that eyes, get that vision. You could see pain. It's not the same. You can't give the same medicine of pushing and charts and all. It doesn't work. Regular motivation doesn't work on sick people. You can't be mechanech an illness. And that's, I hope, the future. And I wish someone could just invent this thermometer, and that'll avoid all the problems. Now, the truth of the matter is, there's going to be an app on everyone's phone in a couple of years, because they have fMRIs of the brain. An MRI of the brain is called fMRI. And that MRI shows damage. Kids who go through trauma and abuse, they have parts of their brain that can't function well. And that's why they're not able to keep up with the pressure. And that's why they start like a rubber band to snap. Because we add pressure to the life of a 12-year-old, a 13-year-old, a 14-year-old, and it stretches and stretches and stretches, because usually the maturity is the age of the trauma. Most of you look at the emotional maturity of your kids, and you see it's 6, 7, 8. Why? Because parts of the brain get damaged when they go through abuse and trauma. And we only notice it after we start adding years and years. They start adding pressure. You go to a kid who's 15 years old, get up in the morning, take a shower, here's your clothing. You don't even prepare it yourself. But you don't do that on an 8-year-old. So it's the pressure of life that makes them stretch and break. But those who can see it in a 3rd grade, 4th grader. And what's going to happen in Mitzvah Hashem, we're going to have the fMRIs on our phones. We're going to see exactly the damage, and we're going to be able to heal it. By then, we daven Boirei Refuos. Hashem, you created a machla. We have a machla now that we never used to have before. Kids are nebuch dying. We hear about it all the time. Nebuch, we just lost 2 girls that committed suicide in Eretz Yisrael. They jumped off a roof together. There's a machla today of pain, of emotional pain, psychiatric pain. We have to daven in Klal Yisrael to create refuah. And Hashem will, Mirza Hashem, we're going to have refuahs somehow. And then we're not going to have any of this PTSD. We're not going to have any of these kids suffering. Today, kids off the derech, they're suffering. They're in pain. Even the ones who are macho, and they don't want to admit it. Ask them about their friends. They'll tell you, oh, that one suffering, this one molested, this one learning disability, this one feels like a loser, this one is rejected from their family. Pain, pain, pain. The story of our gullus is emotional holocaust of pain. It's not about bad midos. It's not about bali taiva. There are plenty of frum people, bali taiva. That doesn't make you become a dysfunctional friar person. It doesn't make you ruin your life and drop out of the whole system. It's a sugya of Masechtas pain. And I hope and pray that in Mirza Hashem, the future is going to be much brighter for the next generation. True story.